Let's take that break right now. Gene Baradelli behind enemy lines. We'll be back right after this brief word.
I'm Vito.
And I'm Vito, and we're from WNJC's The Vito and Vito Show.
Every Friday at 1 p.m., you can hear Vito and Vito bring you the perspectives of two college-age millennial conservatives who are committed to defending the principles of free markets, liberty, freedom, and individualism from Brooklyn, New York.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show, and check out our blog posts and articles at vitoandvito.com.
Vito and Vito Show every Friday, 1 p.m. on WNJC 1360 AM, Philadelphia's Renaissance Station in Brooklyn.
It's nothing but the truth.
There's a movement in healthcare today. It's a movement of people that's ready to stand up and take charge of their healthcare. It's people like you and me, who are tired of paying too much for healthcare and getting too little. People who are standing up for their values and letting their conscience make decisions based on timeless principles. It's a movement that's sweeping the nation, and you need to be a part of it. Liberty HealthShare is leading the movement of people who are looking for an alternative to traditional health insurance. Liberty HealthShare is a healthcare sharing organization of people who are sharing the cost of healthcare in an easy and efficient way. Choose your own doctor, your own hospital, and live out your values in healthcare. Join the movement. Together, we're changing healthcare for good. Go to www.joinlhs.com or call 800-722-8041.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind enemy lines. Back on the air. Gene Baradelli back behind enemy lines. I got a resident, I want to say constitutional scholar, but the closest thing we have to one, Matt Fairley, with us, and on the line with both of us right now. It is a pleasure to welcome to the show Shaun McCutcheon, famous for, of course, McCutcheon versus FEC, the landmark decision that has liberal heads exploding throughout the 2016 election cycle. Shaun, how are we doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on. First off, let's get into just some 2016 stuff. We're going to be wonking out on some legal stuff in a little bit. You're a Donald Trump supporter, I hear. Is that true?
Yes, sir. All the way back to 2014. In fact, he came down to New Orleans, the Southern Leadership Conference, and congratulated me in the back room on the victory. You know, on April 2nd of 2014 was the victory, and then I saw him later on that year, and I've been a fan ever since.
All right. Is Donald as bombastic in person as he is on the stage?
Well, in person, no. I'd say he is very direct. I watched him talk to several different political people, and it really depends on whether he likes you or doesn't like you. I mean, some of the guys he just asked to leave the room, and then others he carried on a conversation with. So, but he's very blunt and direct, and I like that. Now,
do Donald and you share the same view on the outcome of that seminal decision, McCutcheon versus FEC, and how does he feel about money and contributions and campaign finance issues, from your understanding?
Well, I think he's got some mixed emotions compared to me, but as far as my case, he was very happy about it. He told me in person that it was a great job and he liked it. Of course, my case was about private individual donations direct to campaigns, but Trump has also said some things about super PACs, which is Citizens United and Speech Now, that haven't been so positive. But as far as what McCutcheon was about, he was very happy about it.
Matt, I know you want to walk out on some of this stuff, so go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad you brought up Citizens United, because while I think everyone on this call is going to agree that an individual has probably an unlimited right to participate in an election any way that they seem, a lot of the concerns that have gone on about, say, the non-individual actors, corporations, super PACs, is about the lack of transparency and the lack of accountability from where this money is coming from. You're an advocate of seeing more money, seeing an expanded, use of money in politics. What is your response to those people who criticize this lack of transparency with the super PACs and all those other non-individual actors?
Well, I think there's more transparency than there was. In my view, a lot of those cases actually created more transparency. And in my case, for example, Chief Justice Roberts wrote about transparency. And more money in politics is wonderful. You can see in this election cycle, which I'm very excited about, what more competition and more messaging does. It's just free speech, and it's just getting the message out and informing the voters. So it's an excellent thing, and we should be able to support as many candidates and PACs and parties as we choose. I mean, it's more money in politics is a good thing.
Just to follow up on that, I think that what people are most concerned about, obviously transparency, very important issue, and while Justice Roberts addressed that, there was an issue with reporting in the 2012 cycle, which I think will be fixed this time around. But I think people are worried about the disproportionality of the messages that the money backs. Should that be a concern for citizens to really care about this disproportionality? I mean, some people want to call it the 1% versus, the 99%, but it seems like the more money, more access to the message, and the message gets out more. But it's not necessarily the message that the majority believes in.
Well, we need to hear all the messages so we can pick the best one. And there's no such thing as too much free speech. I mean, it's water off a duck's back. I mean, and look at the organizations where small donors join together, like labor unions and other, advocacy groups that raise tons of money and get their message out. So if you don't have enough money to run one of these $1 million TV ads, you can join a group that does. But certainly nobody should be limited, because freedom is about not being limited. And, the free speech benefits everybody from top to bottom. And we need the transparency. I totally agree, because the one thing we do need is to make sure that the money is American money going into American elections. But as far as the issues go, issue groups don't need to reveal their donors, especially not small donors. So I'm in agreement with the Citizens United and all the decisions. It makes perfect sense. And then if you look at what the media does, the tons of money and influence that the media has on elections, and they don't reveal their sources, and who knows where their money comes from. And they have as much influence as anybody. So, like Scalia said, the PACs and the super PACs are doing the same thing that the New York Times does every day.
It's interesting you bring up the late Justice Scalia. He was an originalist of the text. And how would you answer those who say that, nowhere in the text do the rights that are enumerated in the Constitution, they're always referred to people, the people, the people, it never refers to corporations? How do you respond to that those arguments that say that, corporations and PACs aren't the types of organizations that the founders wanted to be involved in politics and to have the rights that were enumerated in the Constitution?
Well, the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law, and, no law means freedom. It means they shouldn't be trying to prevent it. And I think what the framers had in mind with the First Amendment and the free speech and political assembly and free media was they did not want the government limiting the people's ability to engage in political activity, because the best government comes from a system where the people select their leaders, okay? It's our most fundamental right to select our leaders. And putting laws out there that do campaign finance, just all those do is favor the incumbents and the people that are writing the laws, i.e. the government, whereas the election power should stay with the people. So it's about the separation of powers, but it's more than just three. The people have power too, and that's elections and our power of free speech.
I remember, I think it was last year, Shaun, that you were involved in the litigation going on here in the People's Republic of New York with, I believe it was NYPPP versus Walsh. And now it looks like at least here like I said, in the People's Republic of New York, that they're going to be moving towards more of a model where you have a regulated campaign finance board and all money that goes into the campaigns for statewide offices are public money. And they're going to be changing the law, changing the New York election law, at least this is what the liberals want to do, to make it so that the money is limited and it has to go through the channels of the government. What do you say about systems like that we have in the People's Republic of New York City and soon to be possibly in the state as well?
Well, that's a real bad idea because it's just going to limit the voters' choices, and it's just a system where the government incumbents are selecting who's going to be in the government. So it's a closed system. Public money is a bad idea because they're going to control who gets the money, and then they'll control who does the messages, and that'll just shut everybody out, any challengers or anybody that disagrees with them. They're just wanting to shut up anybody that disagrees with them, and that is not a good or legitimate purpose. So I think that's contrary to the First Amendment and a real bad idea in a free country.
All right, I'm just going to take the last question here, Matt. I know you got a ton more to talk about, but I just want to I hear the notes being scribbled as we speak, but we have to get out there right now. Of course, ShaunMcCutcheon.org, is that right, or is it .com? I forget. I always get those two mixed up.
I'm chairman of Conservative Action Fund, and yes, I have conservativeactionfund.com and also ShaunMcCutcheon.com for my personal website. Again, ShaunMcCutcheon.com outlines the free speech and the McCutcheon versus Federal Election Commission landmark Supreme Court case. But also I'm chairman of Conservative Action Fund, which is a conservative super PAC that's been advocating, constitutional candidates in several elections now.
Who would have thought you'd be the head of an action fund? Shocking. I know our audience's mouth is agape right now. Of course you are, and I'm glad that you're participating and helping others to participate as well. Conservative Action Fund, go check it out, guys. One last question, Shaun, and then we're going to let you go. As you see this race going towards Super Tuesday, are you willing to go on record and say that there's going to be a nominee decided after Super Tuesday, and that nominee is most likely going to be Donald Trump?
Well, I certainly hope that, and I'm a delegate place 5. I'm actually going to be elected to be a Trump delegate for Alabama on Super Tuesday. So, yes, I believe Trump will, be moving forward. He won't quite. It's only 25% on that Super Tuesday, so he won't quite have the nomination. But it'll become clear that he's very, very competitive towards getting there. So I'm excited about it, and I think Trump shows us what messaging and media and a lot of candidates and competition can do, and how well informed we are. And it's great for the GOP too. He's done so much for the GOP because we have a real contest. We have, and it's not just the same old Clintons like the Democrats are going to have. We actually had a real contest, and it wasn't decided from the start. So I think the Republican Party has made a lot of improvements towards having a real competitive process, which is what free speech does. Now, Trump managed to get the media to pay for a lot of his, but believe me, a lot of money was still spent on getting those messages out. And I think this election cycle shows you that more money in politics is a better result.
You know what? I think, Matt, do you want to take that last one? You think more money is going to give a better result here? I'm excited to see that, there's small donors bundling for all these different candidates, but I think there might be, and maybe I'll let Matt fairly articulate it, because
go ahead. Again, it just only goes back to my position is that, as long as there's the transparency of who's donating what to whom, then we know, and I think,
and that's been improving a lot more.
Had that conversation, and you and I, you answered that earlier, Mr. McCutcheon, that as long as we have, the knowledge of who's donating what to where, sunshine is the best disinfectant, as they say.
Yes,
Absolutely.
sir. I'm on board with the transparency and making sure that it's, especially private money, certainly private people should not be limited, so I'm really pleased with what Chief Justice Roberts wrote in my case about transparency and also about the other issues.
Absolutely. Listen, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's so great when a couple of guys from Brooklyn can get on the phone with a guy from Alabama, and we can have a battle of the accents talking about constitutional law. It's great, isn't it? Thanks so much for coming on.
And I'm going to come back up there and and strike down those laws they're trying to pass.
Oh, listen, we'll go out for a drink and we'll talk about that real soon. We can even talk about it at CPAC next week. Shaun, thanks for coming.